They say every wedding holds a secret, but when it comes to Heartland's Georgie, the truth might change everything. Fans have been waiting to see if the girl who grew up at Heartland will finally find her happily ever after. But before we get to the wedding bells, we need to understand the long, emotional road that brought Georgie to this point. Georgie's story in Heartland has always been one of transformation. When we first met her, she wasn't the confident young woman fans know today. She was a lost foster child, someone who had already seen too much heartbreak for her age. She carried walls around her, tough on the outside but deeply hurting on the inside. And when she arrived at Heartland Ranch, she didn't instantly fit in. She wasn't sure if she even belonged. But as time went on, the Fleming Bartlett family became the family she had always needed. At the beginning, Georgie was rebellious, independent, and sometimes stubborn. She tested rules, she challenged authority, and she didn't always trust people right away. But under that tough exterior was a brave spirit. Amy, Lou, and Jack slowly helped her see that Heartland wasn't just a ranch, it was a home where she could heal, grow, and start dreaming again. And it was at Heartland where Georgie's passion truly shined. Her love for horses became her safe place, her connection to something bigger than herself. She had a natural talent, a fearless energy that made her stand out. Remember how she quickly grew into show jumping? It wasn't just a hobby, it became her dream. Riding wasn't only about winning competitions. For Georgie, it was about proving to herself that she was capable, that she was worthy, and that she could rise above her painful past. Through riding, she discovered strength she never knew she had. But Georgie's journey wasn't just about horses, it was about family. The Fleming Bartletts didn't just give her a roof over her head. They gave her love, guidance, and stability. Jack's wisdom and steady presence gave her the grandfather figure she had been missing. Amy became like an older sister, someone Georgie could look up to, someone who understood her connection with horses and helped her refine it. And Lou? Lou gave Georgie structure and the sense of a mother's protective love, even if that sometimes meant tough rules and big arguments. Every relationship in that household shaped her into the woman she is today. As she grew older, Georgie also learned about responsibility and sacrifice. Life at Heartland was never easy, and she faced countless challenges along the way. Injuries, failures, and heartbreak tested her strength again and again. But every challenge she faced only made her stronger. She learned to fall, to get back up, and to keep fighting for her dreams. And with each passing season, Georgie went from being a lost girl to a young woman with purpose, determination, and a heart full of courage. Of course, love was always part of Georgie's journey too. Viewers saw her explore relationships, stumble through heartbreak, and search for something real. While romance brought her joy at times, it also left her with unanswered questions. Could she trust love? Could she trust herself to make the right choice? These struggles shaped her, making her more mature, more self-aware, and more careful about what she wanted in life. Now, standing on the edge of a wedding storyline, Georgie's past becomes even more important. Every mistake, every lesson, every small victory at Heartland has built up to this moment. The idea of Georgie getting married is more than just a romantic storyline, it's a reflection of how far she's come. From a scared girl who didn't believe she had a future, to a young woman who might be ready to build a future with someone else. That's the real heart of this story. And that's why fans are so invested. Because Georgie isn't just a character on screen, she's a symbol of growth, resilience, and hope. We've watched her grow up in front of us, and now the question is, will her wedding be the final chapter of her journey, or just the beginning of something new? When the words Georgie and wedding appear in the same sentence, fans can't help but sit up and pay attention. This isn't just another side story in Heartland, it feels like the kind of storyline that can define an entire season. But before we assume it's going to be white dresses and vows under the Alberta sky, we need to look at what's real, what's rumor, and what the writers of Heartland might actually be setting us up for. Because in Heartland, nothing is ever as simple as it seems. Over the years, we've watched Georgie navigate love with the same courage and sometimes the same recklessness that she brings to the show jumping arena. Her bond with Wyatt was sweet but fragile, filled with those ups and downs of young love that couldn't quite withstand the weight of real life. Then came Quinn, the charming show jumper who felt like he could be the one. Their relationship had sparks, support, and passion, especially because he understood Georgie's drive for horses and competition in a way few others ever could. Fans were quick to ship them, seeing in Quinn a partner who could not only keep up with Georgie but challenge her to be even better. But here's where the speculation starts. A wedding storyline means commitment, permanence, and a huge leap into adulthood for Georgie. And while it's tempting to think that this is her happy ending, Heartland has always played with tension. Every milestone, every turning point, is layered with uncertainty. Could the wedding be to Quinn? Absolutely. He's the most logical candidate based on where we last saw her romantic life heading. But there's also a lingering doubt. Heartland has been known to throw curveballs. What if it isn't Quinn? What if the wedding isn't what it seems at all? Some fans wonder if the so-called wedding might not even be real. Could it be a dream sequence? A vision of what Georgie hopes for her future, rather than something actually happening in the present. Others speculate it could be a family wedding where Georgie simply plays a big role, and the teasers are deliberately misleading us into thinking it's hers. After all, Heartland thrives on subtle storytelling. They love to tug at fans' emotions, leaving us guessing until the very last moment. But let's assume for a moment that it is Georgie's wedding. What does that mean for her character? Weddings in Heartland have always been emotional touchstones. Think back to Lou and Peter, Amy and Ty. These weddings weren't just about romance, they were about family, about change, about the beginning of a new chapter that reshaped the entire series. If Georgie is really walking down the aisle, then this storyline isn't just about her. It's about everyone at Heartland adjusting to the idea that the little girl they once sheltered is fully grown, ready to make one of life's biggest decisions. And here's where the truth about Georgie's wedding becomes so compelling. It isn't just about whether the ceremony happens or not, it's about the stakes behind it. For Georgie, marriage would mean choosing stability over uncertainty, choosing love over independence, and choosing to plant roots instead of chasing dreams across the globe. Is she truly ready for that? Or could this storyline expose doubts and fears that she hasn't fully confronted yet? Because as strong as Georgie is, she's also a dreamer, someone who has always wanted to push beyond boundaries. Marriage could anchor her, but will it ground her in the right way, or hold her back? The more you think about it, the more layered this storyline becomes. Fans know Georgie well enough to understand that she doesn't do anything halfway. If she's getting married, it won't be because she feels pressured or because it looks right. It will be because she truly believes in the choice. But that belief could be tested, whether by last-minute doubts, unexpected twists, or even family drama. Imagine Jack, protective as ever, questioning whether she's too young. Imagine Lou, ever the planner, trying to take over the details and clashing with Georgie's vision. Imagine Amy, torn between being supportive and secretly worried about whether her niece is ready for such a big step. All of these tensions set the stage for one of the most emotional premieres Heartland could deliver. Because a wedding isn't just about two people in love, it's about the ripple effects on everyone around them. And for fans who have grown up alongside Georgie, it's a storyline that hits close to home. It asks the same questions so many of us face. When are we truly ready for love? For commitment? For a future that ties us to someone else? So when we hear whispers of Georgie's wedding in season 19, we can't just take it at face value. Whether it's real, imagined, or something entirely different, one thing is certain: it's going to force Georgie and all of Heartland to confront truths they may not be ready for. And that's exactly what makes this storyline so powerful. The moment fans heard whispers about Georgie's wedding in Heartland season 19 episode 1, the internet lit up with questions. Could this really be happening? Or is it another clever move from the writers to keep us hooked? To uncover the truth, we need to look closer at what's been teased, what's been misinterpreted, and how Heartland has handled these kinds of stories in the past. Because one thing is certain: when Heartland gives us a wedding storyline, there's always more beneath the surface than just "I do." First, let's consider the obvious. Georgie is at an age and stage in life where marriage could realistically be on the table. She's matured, She's faced heartbreak, and she's learned what it means to fight for her dreams. Quinn, as many fans suspect, is the most logical choice as her partner. Their relationship was built on shared goals, mutual respect, and the kind of chemistry that didn't feel forced. If she's marrying anyone, Quinn seems like the frontrunner. But here's the catch: Heartland doesn't usually hand us the straightforward version of things. If they've hinted at a wedding, it's because there's a twist hiding in plain sight. So, what are the possibilities? One truth is that the wedding may not be happening in the way we expect. It could be an engagement celebration mistaken for a wedding. It could be a wedding that doesn't make it past the planning stage. Or, in true Heartland fashion, it could be a cliffhanger, leaving fans wondering whether Georgie actually goes through with it or calls it off at the last minute. Think about Amy and Ty's journey. The writers didn't give us instant happiness. They made us wait. They tested their relationship, and in doing so, they made the payoff unforgettable. Georgie's path might follow the same formula. Another layer of truth lies in what a wedding would symbolize for Georgie. This isn't just about romance. It's about identity. If she marries Quinn or anyone, it signals a decision to settle, to prioritize love and partnership over the independent, free-spirited life she's always chased. That's where the emotional tension lies. Is Georgie ready to make that choice? Or will this storyline reveal that she still has more growing to do before she says those vows? The truth about her wedding may be less about the ceremony itself and more about the decision behind it. Fans also can't ignore the possibility that the wedding isn't Georgie's at all. Heartland has teased viewers before, using clever editing and carefully worded previews to spark speculation. What if the truth is that someone else is getting married, and Georgie is playing a central role as a bridesmaid, maid of honor, or even officiant? Imagine the emotional impact of seeing Georgie in a wedding dress during a trailer without the context that it isn't her big day. That kind of misdirection is exactly the kind of strategy Heartland uses to keep fans guessing. But let's imagine, just for a moment, that it really is Georgie's wedding and it happens in season 19's opening episode. That would mean the writers are using this moment as a launchpad for the season's bigger storylines. And that changes everything. A wedding could serve as a backdrop for family conflicts to surface, unresolved issues to bubble up, and hidden fears to come to light. Jack might struggle with letting go of the girl he once saw as a granddaughter in need of protection. Lou might overstep in her eagerness to plan, creating tension between tradition and Georgie's modern vision. Amy might face her own reflections on love and marriage, especially in the shadow of Ty's absence. In this way, the wedding becomes more than a single event. It becomes a storytelling device that forces every character to confront something about themselves. The truth, then, is that Georgie's wedding is not just about Georgie. It's about Heartland itself. It's about the ranch, the family, and the way change ripples through people who are bound together by love but often divided by different dreams. The ceremony, if it happens, will be emotional not just because of the vows but because of what they represent. The closing of one chapter and the uncertain opening of another. And here's the hardest truth of all. Heartland has never been afraid of heartbreak. While fans may want a perfect fairy tale ending for Georgie, the writers might have something else in store. A wedding could be interrupted, postponed, or even broken apart entirely. And if that happens, it won't be because the show wants to disappoint fans, it will be because the show has always been about authenticity. Heartland doesn't give us flawless, untouchable love stories. It gives us real ones. Ones where joy and pain walk side by side. So, what's the truth about Georgie's wedding? The truth is that it may not be the fairy tale fans imagine. It may be messy, complicated, and filled with challenges. But isn't that what makes Heartland so powerful? The show has always mirrored real life, reminding us that love isn't just about the happy moments, it's about the struggles, the sacrifices, and the courage to keep believing in something bigger than yourself. As season 19 begins, fans will be holding their breath, waiting to see if Georgie walks down the aisle or if the story takes a heartbreaking turn. And whichever way it goes, one thing is certain. The truth about her wedding will leave a lasting mark on Heartland, its family, and the fans who have grown up alongside her. A wedding, whether it's real or just a rumor, never happens in isolation, especially Not in Heartland. The ranch has always been more than a backdrop. It's a living, breathing space where every character's choices affect the entire family. That's why Georgie's wedding isn't just about her personal happiness. It has the power to stir old emotions, ignite new conflicts, and reshape relationships in ways that fans may not be ready for. Let's start with Jack Bartlett. To Jack, Georgie has always been more than just a foster child who showed up at the ranch one day. She became his granddaughter in every way that matters. He was there for her when she was at her most vulnerable, guiding her with that quiet wisdom only Jack can offer. But if Georgie is walking down the aisle, Jack would be forced to face something he's never been ready for letting go. Jack is protective, sometimes to a fault. He still sees the little girl who needed him, and the idea of her suddenly becoming someone's wife could trigger fear that she's moving on, that she no longer needs his watchful care. For Jack, Georgie's wedding wouldn't just be about her future. It would also be about his own struggle to accept change, to trust that she's ready, and to believe that he's given her enough guidance to handle life's biggest challenges. Then there's Lou Fleming. If anyone knows how complicated weddings can be, it's Lou. Her own marriage to Peter was filled with ups and downs, joy and heartbreak. That history would shape how she approaches Georgie's wedding. Lou is practical, organized, and sometimes controlling, qualities that make her both a blessing and a curse when it comes to planning big events. If Georgie's wedding becomes real, you can imagine Lou throwing herself into the details, the venue, the dress, the guest list. But here's the catch: Georgie isn't Lou. She's independent, headstrong, and not afraid to push back. That could set up a clash between them. Lou might want the wedding to reflect tradition, while Georgie might crave something unique, something that feels true to her own spirit. And when those visions collide, it could create some of the most emotional and even explosive moments of the season. Now let's talk about Amy Fleming. Amy's connection to Georgie is unlike anyone else's. She's not just an aunt. She's more like an older sister, a mentor, and sometimes even a second mother. Amy has been there for Georgie through her growth, guiding her with horses, helping her through heartbreaks, and reminding her to trust herself. But a wedding storyline could stir something deeper in Amy, a reflection of her own love story with Ty. Watching Georgie prepare for marriage might bring back bittersweet memories of her wedding, the joy she once felt, and the pain of losing Ty too soon. Amy may find herself torn between happiness for Georgie and grief for what she lost. That emotional push and pull could be one of the most powerful dynamics of the entire storyline. And then there's Tim Fleming. Tim is known for being fiery, stubborn, and often unpredictable. His protective streak over his daughters and grandchildren is strong, sometimes overwhelming. If Georgie is getting married, you can bet Tim would have something to say about it, probably several things. He might question whether Georgie is ready, whether the groom is good enough, whether this decision is happening too fast. But behind all that bluster, Tim's reaction would come from a place of love. He sees Georgie as part of his family, and the thought of someone else becoming her anchor might make him uneasy. Tim's response could add tension and drama, perhaps even sparking heated confrontations with Georgie or with the groom himself. Beyond the immediate family, Georgie's wedding could also impact the ranch as a whole. Weddings bring people together, and that means characters we haven't seen in a while could return. Old flames, distant relatives, or even friends from Georgie's past might show up, stirring unresolved conflicts or rekindling connections. These appearances could serve as emotional callbacks for longtime fans, weaving together past storylines with the present moment. And let's not forget the emotional weight for the fans themselves. Georgie has been a symbol of resilience from the moment she arrived at Heartland. Seeing her step into marriage isn't just a milestone for her, it's a milestone for the audience who has grown up with her. But the impact of her wedding goes even further. It forces viewers to see how time has changed everyone at Heartland. Jack is older, Amy is still healing, Lou is learning to balance her family, and Tim is struggling to let go. Georgie's wedding becomes a mirror, reflecting the growth, the struggles, and the resilience of every character in the show. The truth is, a wedding storyline isn't just a romantic subplot, it's a catalyst. It has the power to pull characters closer or drive them apart. It can heal old wounds or open new ones. It can make the family stronger or expose cracks that have been hiding just beneath the surface. And for season 19, that might be the entire point. Georgie's wedding, whether it happens or not, is a test. A test for her, a test for her family, and a test for how far Heartland is willing to push its characters into new emotional territory. In the end, Georgie's wedding isn't just about vows or rings.